Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm going to be talking about the news of the day right now, which is the attack on the British Special Forces base in Iraq was allegedly orchestrated by Vladimir Putin. Now, look, there's a direction of travel right now. And it's not new. I've been saying it for a long time. Britain cannot get involved in this conflict in the Middle East. That's just the reality. They can't get involved because there's bigger fish to fry for Britain in Europe, right? With the with the war in Ukraine. Now, what you guys are seeing is media manipulation and propaganda to push you into supporting a war in Ukraine. Now, listen, I tell you guys what's coming long before it's coming, and this is the direction of travel now. There isn't an off ramp. There is absolutely an off ramp. No, there's absolutely no off ramp. What I think's going to happen is very soon. Look, it's out on the mainstream media this morning. Let me just get this up. Putin's hidden hand aids Iran's tactics, says John Healey, the UK Defence Ministry. So what they're saying is, the attack on the British base in Erbil wasn't really the Iranians. It was all Vladimir Putin's fault. Ergo, we need to have a war with Russia. Ergo, we need to have boots on the ground in Ukraine. Ergo, World War III. Now, before we get onto this, guys, I want to share with you this video from, let me just share with you guys this video from the United States. I will share this video later on.
He shot 3 people.
So let me just, let's just rewind this, okay? So I'm going to give you guys an update on what happened last night in the United States with this active shooter at the synagogue.
How was he deceased?
So the question was, how was the active shooter deceased?
There were students in that room that subdued him and rendered him no longer alive. I don't know how else to say it, but they basically were able to terminate the threat.
So he was not shot?
He was not shot.
He shot 3 people?
Correct. We have information that he shot 3 people.
Okay, so FBI sources say the shooter was shouting Allahu Akbar. That's literally what it says there, guys. Whichever way, or there, I don't know. So from this news report here, they are saying that the shoot, I think I'm going to have to do another live stream on this. So what she's saying here is this guy, he drove into the synagogue, literally drove through the doors. Now there's reports out that say that this guy had a truck full of explosives. Now, I don't know what that means. I don't know what a truck full of explosive means. As the report says there, he was shouting Allahu Akbar. He shot 3 people, and then he was subdued by the students. So it must have been a university. I don't really understand what the building was. There were staff, I guess, or students inside that building who subdued him, and he did not survive that subduing. Okay, now, the reason I'm bringing this to everybody's attention is I've probably done 3 videos, and I may even do another one, talking about run, hide, fight. Okay, that's what So in this scenario, right, you can assume that the people in that building didn't have anywhere to run, right? Because there's a truck just burst through the doors. You kind of don't have anywhere to run, right? You can't run because there's, for whatever reason. So I'm going to assume they tried hiding in a classroom or whatever. And then when the gunman jumped in, I'm going to assume they jumped on him, and the gunman is no longer, that threat was neutralized, and he's not going to be a threat to anyone else, right? Now, here in the United Kingdom, they don't teach you that. They say you've got to run, you've got to hide, and then you've got to tell. Can you imagine the body count if everybody was on their phones telling the police? You know, it's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous in the United Kingdom. So there is more information out about this. Let me just so officials say the suspect is now no longer with us from, you know, from whatever you guys want to, however you guys think that happened. You know, he maybe got choked out or maybe got bludgeoned or whatever. I don't know. Now, the Department of Homeland Security identified the suspect as Ayman Mohammed Ghazali, Ghazali, who was 41. Thursday evening, on Thursday evening. Now, a spokesperson said that he was born in Lebanon, entered the United States in 2011 as a spouse of a US citizen, and was granted citizenship in 2016. So that's the information that we have at the moment about the about what happened at the synagogue yesterday. And I just question how these things would have gone differently if this was in the United Kingdom. I think if this had have happened in the United Kingdom, the exact same scenario, right? Exact same scenario. I'm going to say there would have been a bigger body count. Because people would be too scared to attack him. People, like literally, here in the United Kingdom, people would be, and look, guys, I don't know what the law is. I'm pretty sure if somebody's shooting at you, right, you have the right to defend yourself. I'm pretty convinced that's the law, right? However, we've been absolutely bludgeoned in the United Kingdom. Bludgeoned, beaten, slapped. Into not defending ourselves. So I don't think that if this situation went down in the United Kingdom, I think you would literally have a load of people on the phone to 101, or to 999 on hold. Yep, he's in the room. Yep, he's in the room. Yep, we're all lined up on our phones because, the government advice is to run hide tel. Yep. Oh no, there was 10 of us. Now there's 9. No, I'm at the end of the line. Yep. Okay. Yep. No, there's 8 now. Yep. I'm like, okay. I'm telling you all there's 7. There's 7. Oh, 6. Now there's 5 of us left in the room. 4 of us left in the room. 3 of us left in the room. 2 of us left in the room. What am I allowed to do? Please stay on the line. And what are you supposed to do? I'm just glad that these people could subdue him as quickly, subdue this attacker as quickly as possible. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, if you're joining for the first time, it does look like the mainstream media has been on overdrive this morning, blaming Putin for the attacks on the British base in Erbil. Now, I don't think that's untrue. I don't think that's untrue. However, the information that they're using is pretty shaky. The information is pretty, it's pretty shaky information. So basically, the Defense Secretary in the United Kingdom, John Healey, has said that the Iranians are using tactics from Putin. And in my head, I'm like, what does that even mean? This is such a non-story. However, this is frontline, this is headline stuff now. So what this is doing is this is getting people ready for, the anti-Putin rhetoric, which is already there, the anti-Russia rhetoric, which is gonna, it's going to dissolve hesitations on this war in Ukraine. Because listen, if anybody's under any illusion, right? Does anybody think that there's not going to be a full green military deployment to Ukraine? It's coming, it's happening, and you guys can see it right now. And also, as another interesting thing, when and this is another so when the evacuations were happening in on and around the 28th, when the evacuations were happening from the Middle East, it turns out the United States they couldn't evacuate all their people from Iraq. So British RAF flights had to evacuate US diplomats from Erbil. Now, what I'm getting at here is the absolute full cooperation between militaries, between the British military and the US military. There's no spat. There's no, there's none of this. It's all pomp and pageantry, and it's all pomp and pageantry to draw that line between Britain and America, where Britain doesn't get attacked by Iran, although I'm pretty sure that's going to happen anyway. Britain doesn't get attacked by Iran. America doesn't get attacked by the Russians. And then you've got these two wars fighting simultaneously. So all the news right now, all the media is on the Strait of Hormuz, oil, airstrikes in the Middle East, this new supreme leader that nobody's seen yet. Have you seen that? The new supreme leader, nobody's seen him yet, and people are saying that he's already brown bread. I don't know if that's the truth. However, let me just read this real quick. So, in the nearly 10 days since the U.S. State Department directed non-emergency government employees to leave Iraq amid the war with Iran, the United States struggled to remove all personnel impacted by the order from potential danger. And two US officials tell ABC News. The officials say the US diplomatic mission across the Middle East were given little warning in the run-up to the strikes. Now, the reason they don't give diplomats much warning before these strikes is because they leak stuff. They absolutely leak stuff. When you've got these people, diplomats, working in, you've got these diplomats working in these... When you've got these people working as diplomats, look, guys, I used to work in the British Embassy. They are absolutely terrible. Like, don't tell them anything. They go to these parties, they go to the smokers, they go to, like, especially in Baghdad, especially like these guys at the embassy, like Friday night in Baghdad, everyone goes to Baghdadis. It's the nightclub in the US Embassy in Baghdad. Wednesday, people go to the British Embassy. In fact, when I was there, it was a big shit sandwich, because the British Embassy in Baghdad was actually on TripAdvisor as the best night out in Baghdad. I'm just going to put it out there, guys. All right, that was literally on TripAdvisor, and the ambassador was absolutely furious. He was absolutely furious. Anyway, so that's all these diplomats do. They ponce around, going to meetings. They don't really do any work. In fact, no, actually, it wasn't. I think it was Saturday night in the British Embassy. Wednesday night was the Italian Embassy, and they used to do a pizza night. So Wednesday night was pizza night in the Italian Embassy. Friday night was Baghdadis. Saturday night was the British Embassy pool party. And that's all they do. They just talk among each other. So the reason, excuse me. So the reason diplomats don't get much information on what's critical military operations is they will leak it. They will absolutely leak that information. So, like we're saying there, the US diplomats across the Middle East, they didn't get much time in the run up to the airstrikes. And that even though conditions in countries like Iraq quickly deteriorated to a point where they had to order departure of non-emergency personnel, military flights to remove personnel from Baghdad, where the US embassy is located, were delayed for several days after the order was issued due to hazardous security conditions. Now, diplomatic staff at the American consulate in Erbil were also forced to shelter in place when the facility came under attack from Iran before they were ultimately flown out of the country by the Royal Air Force due to constraints of US military, which would normally carry out such a mission. The UK Ministry of Defence confirmed to ABC News that the Royal Air Force carried out a number of US consulate flights and contractors from Iraq to Cyprus. Now, this is how it works. This is absolutely how it works, right? I've been in these situations where you're trying to evacuate, and if you are not part of a main unit, like if you're like a straggler, like a special forces guy, you're like one of these roles that's in between, you're like a liaison officer, you're trying to deal with shit right up until the last minute, and then you struggle to get a flight. So you're literally running around asking people, you're asking British, Canadians, Australia, anyone who speaks English, mate, can I get on your flight? Where are you going? Don't care. Just let me get on. I'll get on. And normally the pilot or the load master will say, yeah, jump on, mate, bring your kit. That's how it works. So it's not, it's not this big thing. Like getting military flights out of places, it's not like going to Bryce Norton. It's not like going to Bryce Norton. It is like going to Bryce Norton. It's not like going to, I don't know, Manchester Airport or Heathrow, where you sit there and no, you don't do that. You literally just, the tailgate comes down, you run on the back. Sometimes there's no seats and you just have to hold on to the floor or something, or sometimes you might have a rope to hold on to stop you falling back. But these things can be pretty chaotic. I've been on some pretty chaotic, extraction flights, especially in that, I know this wasn't in the middle of the desert. Erbil Airport's, it's got quite a big runway. But, you might get people on your flight that just, you don't know who they are. So what I'm getting at here is, if there wasn't that gel between British military and US military and that cooperation, certainly at the operational level, maybe at the political level, it might be straining, but certainly at the military operational level, that, that cooperation is absolutely, it's absolutely there. It's unwavering and it will always be there. Right. Let me jump onto the chat, guys. Right. Good morning, everyone. Marrow Mind Holler. Right, Brad Davis, can you behave? Right, Brad Davis, can you behave, please? Right, Brad Davis, I'm just putting you straight into the timeout. Brad Davis is going straight into the timeout. Poor Trump, he needed Tories in power, but in the UK, but Farage stabbed him in the back, helping Labour. Now also, I don't know what that means. I have no idea what that means. Right, Brad's gone, guys. Brad just comes on and spams weird stuff, and I don't really understand what he's talking about, and I don't think he understands what he's talking about either. So, yeah. No, this is what I mean. So real quick. Oh, hang on a minute. Somebody's... Oak of Freedom has sent a $1.99 super, so that's like what? I don't know, like a pound or something. Thank you though, Oak of Freedom, for your contribution. It will, all the supers, guys, they go towards helping repair my roof. Right, somebody was saying something there. Right, Slim. So Slim was saying. Slim's saying, yeah, you was eating babies. Well, this is what I mean, right? So when this whole Pizzagate thing, like I really struggle with it. Right, I'm looking at all the circumstantial evidence. I'm not seeing the smoking gun. I'm seeing the amount of celebrities that talk about eating pizza. However, what else are they supposed to talk about? Like, what else are they supposed to say they eat? Yeah, I only eat filet mignon. Yeah, I only eat T-bone. Yeah, I only eat ribeye. Yeah, I don't eat no peasant pizza. They've got to appeal to a wide range of people, haven't they? So it could be, and every time I say pizza now, I do think that. So if people heard this, right, they'll say, oh, you could put this conspiracy together, couldn't you? You could put this conspiracy together and say, like, confirmed. US diplomats in Iraq involved in human trafficking and organ harvesting. Look, and then you see me say, yeah, we used to go to the Italian embassy on a Wednesday and have pizza night. Like, you see how this escalates. So yes, I totally understand these angles. Natalie is saying, Natalie is saying duty rumor is Mushtaba. I don't know who Mushtaba is. Was in a right, okay, so that's the supreme leader, the new supreme leader. So Natalie's saying the duty rumor is the new supreme leader has been in a coma since the first day and doesn't even know what happened. I don't know what's going on, guys. I know we've not seen this new supreme leader, so it is a little bit peculiar, right? That there's a new supreme leader that nobody's seen. If you have stocks in oil prepared to sell in 4 days, boots on the ground soon, straight, going to be guided by US Navy. Unfortunately, carry trade unwinding will happen, damage is done. Right. I don't know what that means. I would say stocks in oil are only going up. I would say they're only going, stocks in oil are only going to go up. And Silly Galade is in Israel, and she's saying that Turkey say they were targeted by Iran again. Right. Okay. So when we hear, let me just get this up on the headline. Yeah. Let me share this. So 2 killed in Oman following drone strike. Missile reported, Iranian missiles reportedly targets NATO, Turkish NATO airbase. Right. So can you guys remember? You know, I'm just going to run through this because I've said this to absolute death. NATO is over, right? NATO is over. I gave you guys this exact example, right? Exact example. Everybody like gushes over NATO. Oh, look, we're in NATO. Nobody can attack us. Turns out Turkey's been attacked quite a few times. And there's no giant missile response. There's no nuclear weapons being fired. Just seems like, yeah, you can actually attack a NATO country and nothing will happen. Now, putting that into perspective now for Britain. Excuse me. Putting this into perspective now, if you live in the United Kingdom. Obviously, Putin will be watching this, and Putin's general. They'll be honestly like the Russians right now will be laughing about this. They will. They will be in bits. They'll probably all be sat around with a bottle of vodka, and they will be eating like what is it? Sallow. It's like pig fat, seasoned pig fat. It's vital. I don't touch it, but you know, the Russians do. They'll be having it on toast. And, you know, they'll have like little bits of onion and whatever. Anyway, they'll be sat round. And they will be absolutely laughing at this. And they'll be saying, look, Yuri, Iran fire a strategic missile at Turkey and NATO do nothing. Yes, I know, Vladimir. Wait till everything calm down. Then we make strike on Poland. Yes, we make very big strike on Poland. Now, in this, what we are seeing right now is NATO is now a fair game, right? Because nobody can deny that now. In fact, you know what? I should probably do a live stream on this on its own. Nobody can deny that the NATO memorandum of agreements or articles of agreement or whatever they're called, nobody can say that they're worth the paper they're written on anymore. It's just so ridiculous. And I always said that it was ridiculous. I always said that it's not worth it. Article 4, maybe, because that's at least some legal justification. So yes, it does look like missiles have been fired towards Iranian missiles have reportedly Iranian missiles reportedly target Turkish NATO airbase. Now, I don't know if that's not been confirmed yet. However, you know, we know that this has happened before. We know that this will happen again, and we absolutely know that nobody's going to do anything about it. David Rourke is saying 4 US service. Oh God, yeah, there was. Okay, was this tanker shot down? Because I've heard this tanker was not shot down. I've heard it was. Hang on. Right, so I'm getting that this was just so from the BBC, and I totally understand that, you know, the BBC is probably not the best place to get your media from. 4 killed after US refueling plane crashes in Iraq. So I don't know if it was shot down. I'm pretty sure that the US came out and said. I'm pretty sure that the US said that it wasn't enemy fire that took this aircraft down. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, let me jump to the bottom. Good morning, everyone. Right, give them a country, they said, they'll be fine. No, it's an accident, says silly Gallardi. So I don't listen, guys. I don't know if it was an accident. I don't know if it was shot down. Obviously, listen. Either way, you know, it's definitely come down. Even if it was shot down, would the United States really want to agree? Like, I mean, you can look at this both 2 angles, right? If it was shot down, you could argue that that the United States wouldn't want people to they wouldn't want people to think it was shot down. They would want people to think it came down by some sort of accident because they wouldn't want to seem vulnerable, right? Equally, on the other hand, if it was shot down, and they say it was shot down, then maybe that would roust people up further for the conflict. David King is saying America is crying, Russia is helping Iran while United States give Ukraine intelligence. Yeah. So the way this thing's playing, right, and the way this thing's always played is the direction of travel right now is Britain is going to lead in Ukraine against the Russians. It's going to happen soon. It's going to happen real soon. It has to happen soon. Things have started now. And the Americans and Israel are going to go and fight the war in the Middle East. There isn't any... you know, it's all out on the media. You know, Britain should have helped America. Britain should have done this. Britain should have done that. There's nothing we can do. Like, we don't have any, like, look at the state of the Navy, right? Look at the state of the Royal Navy. The state of the Royal Navy in the United Kingdom is it's been absolutely decimated. Like, how would Britain get involved in this conflict? The only thing Britain would do is slow the Americans down. That's the only thing Britain would do. Why would we slow the Americans down? Well, there would be target packs that Britain had to take out, and our aircraft had stopped working. The aircraft, it just wouldn't work, right? And the reason I'm saying this is because I was in the invasion in the invasion of Iraq in 2003. And out of the whole British, this was like 2003 when the British military still had some numbers. So from the whole invasion of the whole British military, there was a big build-up. There was a build-up from like December, I think. So from this huge build-up, deploying tanks and trucks and aircraft and helicopters. Guess how much Army Aviation had. So the whole British military managed to supply, I think it was 4 Lynx helicopters, right? 4. The whole British military could only supply 4 helicopters, right? Of those 4 helicopters, right? I think 2 of them had broken down And of the other ones, like there was another issue from like the other ones, there was another issue, and like one of the others couldn't fly either for whatever reason. So literally, the whole British military could only supply one helicopter. It was so embarrassing, guys, so embarrassing. And you know that one helicopter? So you think of like helicopters with the missile pods at the side and the machine guns and you know all the cool stuff. So from the missile pods, one of the missile pods wasn't working. So they only had one missile pod. And, you know, there really isn't anything that Britain could contribute to this conflict. Mad Monkey Seeds is saying he lied to Trump's face, lied to everyone. I think you're talking about, are you talking about Keir Starmer? Makes the British subordinate through laws. It's hideous. Yeah, it is. That's ridiculous. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to go back to this video because I think everybody needs to watch this video again. So I'm going to watch a video now. And well, all of us are going to watch a video in regards to the attack, the active shooter on the synagogue yesterday in the United States. Now, suspects being brown bread after ramming a vehicle into Michigan synagogue, officials say. Now, let me just scroll down. The Department of Homeland Defense, the Department of Home Security identified the suspect as Ayman Mohammed Ghazali, I think that's it, 41. Now, he was born, as this article is saying, he was born in Lebanon and entered the United States in 2011. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to share a video with you guys in response to this.
How was he deceased?
So this is from Fox News, and I think this is like the report, the lead investigating officer. I don't know. But somebody has just asked how he was deceased. So what was the cause of this gentleman's passing into the other world? Listen to this explanation.
There were students in that room that subdued him.
So she's saying there were students in that room that subdued him.
And rendered him no longer alive.
So the students in the room rendered him no longer alive. They're not my words, they're her words.
I don't know how else to say it, but they basically were able to terminate the threat.
So he was not shot?
He was not shot.
He shot 3 people?
Correct. We have information that he shot 3 people.
Okay, so and as the source says there, the shooter yelled Allahu Akbar. Here in the United Kingdom, I fear, and I genuinely do, guys. I genuinely do. So what she said there, the suspect, nobody had firearms in that room, I'm assuming, other than the bad guy, right? And I am jumping to that assumption. And clearly they didn't use them if they did, right? So what I'm getting at here is, you know, when I do the live streams and I talk about run, hide, fight, it's really important that people understand that, because I think if this was in the United Kingdom, run, hide, fight is drilled into people in the United States. It's absolutely drilled into people. If this happened in the United Kingdom, where exact same scenario, right? Just imagine the exact same scenario happened here in the United Kingdom, right? What do you think those students would do? Do you think they would all rush and just jump on this guy and, you know, or do you think they'd all be screaming and like cowering? I don't want to be distasteful. I've seen this stuff happen. I've seen it when people are cowering, too scared to do anything. Cowering, like, right, okay, active situation, hide under your desk, wait for the teacher to tell you something. It's so wrong. And if this situation happened, I mean, even now I'm seeing it through my head. I absolutely don't suggest anybody goes looking for this on the internet, because it will give you, but you can see this, you can find this stuff on whatever channels on the internet. They pixel bits out, but you can still have a good idea of what's going on. For someone who's been, like, for me, I've been a tactical firearms instructor probably over half of my life. But people in the United Kingdom are not ready for what's coming. They're not ready for what's about to hit. And if this situation happened in the United Kingdom, I'm pretty much convinced that the amount of people would be a lot more than 3. And that attacker would probably still, he'd probably be on the run now, because the government don't tell people to defend themselves. The government's advice is to run, hide, and to tell. And what I said earlier on is, it's so absurd. And I know I shouldn't do negative reinforcement. All right. I know this is the wrong way of teaching. All right. So it should be run, hide, fight. All right. And I'm a subject matter expert at that. And if anybody wants to challenge me, and anybody wants to come out and say, oh, Sean's telling the wrong thing, he's going against governmental advice, I will literally, like, go to court, and I will challenge the highest tactical guy in the United, whoever the highest tactical guy in fact, he wouldn't even challenge me, because he knows himself it's bullshit. Imagine the scenario, right? Imagine this scenario, guys. So, exact same scenario, right? In the United States and in the United Kingdom, right? Same scenario. Guy drives through synagogue, whatever, whatever, church, whatever, shopping center. He's shouting, like it says there. You guys can read that, right? He's shouting. There's gunfire. And because you're in the United Kingdom, right? Because you're in the United Kingdom, you are told to run, hide, and tell. I know this is difficult. I know this is probably not going to happen like this, but I just visualize this, right? So right? So you've run, you've nowhere else to run. You're hiding now in a classroom, right? The door gets kicked in, and everybody's on their mobile phone now, phoning 999, all right? And you're at, like, the left-hand side, and you're all lined up, all right? All lined up on the phone, telling. And you're on the phone to the police, and you're like, yeah, what's your emergency? You're like, yeah, I'm in this location. There's a bad guy in here, and there's lots of banging, and there's 10 of us in this room, right? There's 10 of us in this room. Oh, he's in the room with us. What do I do? And then there's a big bang, right? And then you say, oh, now there's 9 of us. Now there's 9 of us. What should I do? Oh, and then there's another bang. Oh, there's 8 of us. What should I do? Oh, there's 7 of another bang. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Because that's literally the government advice, right? Now, same scenario, but in the United States, all right? It's being drilled into the people in the United States to run, hide, fight. Same scenario, right? They've ran, they've hid. He tries to get in the door, they mob him, all right? And nobody else gets hurt. Well, one person gets hurt. And this is the problem here in the United Kingdom. These things are going to happen, ladies and gentlemen. Mark my words, these things are going to happen. There's already been 20 attacks. In fact, I'm going to do a standalone live stream on this. I am going to do a standalone live stream on this, because I think this is as a training point, I guess. As a training point, is quite relevant.
Are likely on fire. That is stronger smoke than what we saw earlier. So again, these, we've been showing these images in a little bit of a delay.
So from what I understand, this guy, he drove straight through there in a truck. Now, I don't know if this is true. There's nice houses around there, by the way. Now, I don't know if this is true, but I'm told that there were, well, it's been reported, I'm not being told, it's been reported that there were explosives in his truck. I mean, look at that proximity. Can you guys see that there? Can you guys see that in like the center of the screen? It's like a playground. It's like a kid's playground, like literally just there.
Obviously, it doesn't look like it's billowing yet, but it's with the way it's coming out of the side there. It definitely would appear that multiple locations inside are likely on fire. That is stronger smoke than what we saw earlier. So,
right, let me jump onto the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Right, let me jump on here. Praise King. Right, listen, guys. Listen, ladies and gentlemen. Let's not be all spamming biblical stuff, all right? Let's not all be spamming biblical stuff, guys. Let's not all spam biblical stuff, all right? I will read this. Praise King Jesus forever says John 8.24, sorry. Jesus answered, I said, therefore unto you that shall die in your sins, for if you believe, I don't know what that means, guys. I don't know what this means. Cyrus says, run if you're not on the X until you can't run anymore. Hide, never keep running. Hide, never keep running. Fight if you're on the X because you will die if you don't. Okay, so what John means by X is he doesn't mean like the social media platform X. He means if you're on the X, as if like you're getting shot at right then, there and then. Stop the Bags is saying the Ayatollah. Oh, the Ayatollah, sorry. The Ayatollah is a copy of the 12 minus. I don't know what that means, guys. I don't know what that means. James is saying it's Friday the 13th. Eek, it is Friday the 13th indeed. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, let's bring this back on track, okay? Let's get this back on track because we're going on massive side quests, and I am going to come back on, and I'm going to do another. I think I'm going to do another act. It's only going to be a short video, but I will come back on and do another standalone video on that. So it's turned out from the newspapers this morning that the British, John Healey, the Secretary of Defense the Defense Secretary basically for the United Kingdom, he's come out and he said that the drone strikes on the British base in Erbil, it's actually Putin. It's actually Putin's fault. It's all Vladimir Putin's fault. So a hidden hand of Putin aids Iran's tactics. Now, a couple of things about this, right? I think it's true. Equally, I don't think it matters in the context that, like, another headline could be military allies share tactics. There is no story here. There's no story here. Now, let me share this actually. So there is no story here, but the real story is that this is being made into a story, if that makes sense to anyone. So, hidden hand of Putin aids Iran's tactics, says Healey. Now, absolutely no story here. The real story is that this has front page, that this has been published now on the front page of mainstream media, of tabloid newspapers. This is because excuse me. This is because we are gearing up for, we are absolutely gearing up for a war with the Russians in Ukraine. That's the reality, guys. Absolutely. This is all. Oh, do you know what? I'll share the whole thing. Actually, Let me share the whole thing. Give me a second. So these are the tabloid headlines. All right, in unison, the tabloid. These are the tabloids. Okay, hidden hand of Putin aids Iran tactics. Iran targets. Okay, that does. It says it there somewhere. As Defense Secretary, it does say it in there. British base blitzed by Iran. Drone strike on special forces in Iraq. Under fire. And then you've got a picture of Putin there. Look, Middle East crisis. It's all Putin's fault. It's Putin. Iranian drones directed by hidden hand of Putin. That's from the Times. So, it's just Russia behind attack on UK troops. The Russians are not behind the attack, although it was clearly the Iranians who fired those drones, right? Allies share information. That's what they do. So the real story here is not the story. The real story is that this is being given so much, so much front page media. In unison, all the headlines, all simultaneously. Russia behind attack on UK troops. Putin's hidden hand guiding Iranian missiles. It's still ridiculous. And it's just getting people used to the anti-Russian. And look, guys, I think that's fair because it is, but you guys just need to see what's coming, right? You guys just need to see what's coming and need to understand that very soon Britain is going to be involved in a conflict in Ukraine against the Russians. Emma Jane Taylor is saying, I still think aliens or some light being will come in and stop the stupidity. See, I'm genuinely seeing. I don't want to go down the aliens route, guys. I've done a few standalone videos over the last couple of days talking about UFOs and UAPs. Look, nobody can deny has definitely been an absolute uptick in. Do you know what? It's not even an uptick. It's a paradigm shift. There's been an absolute paradigm shift in the use or the normalization. I think that's a better word. There's been an absolute paradigm shift in the normalization of talking about UFOs, UAPs, aliens. It just seems to be like people are genuinely talking about this on the mainstream now. I was watching, I can't remember. I think it was either Sky News. I don't know. I was watching a news thing, and they had people in the streets, right, walking around on the streets, interviewing people, asking them, just the general public, do they believe aliens are real or whatever. Now the answers are irrelevant. What's relevant is they were doing this seriously. This wasn't like some sort of fringe, like little documentary, aliens are coming. This was like real mainstream. This was real mainstream stuff, and people were giving it real airtime. So there has been an absolute paradigm shift. Sean Parsons is saying, Sean, have you ever been part of the People's Popular Front? I don't even know what that is. That sounds made up. That sounds made up to me. That sounds made up. Let me Google it. The People's Popular. No, I haven't, but I don't know what. I think this is made up. The Popular Front is a broad coalition of working class, liberal, and social democrat. No, I have that. No, absolutely no, I've not. I thought this was something like the Popular People's Front of Judea or something like that. I thought this was something like Monty Python. No, I have not. Row Pro is saying, watching the comments, I know some will make it and most will struggle and regret. Unfortunately, when you follow the blind, you will never see what's coming. It's the sad truth, but it is. Yeah, I mean, what I'm thinking about right now is I'm really, in the back of my head, I'm really conscious of this active shooter. That happened in the United States. I do think, like, you know, if you follow the blind, because here in the United Kingdom, we are so puss-whipped, I like to call it. We're so whipped. The concept that people may have to get into a scrap, it's so far-fetched. It's unbelievable. However, these things are going to be upon us very soon. Remember what Elon Musk said. Christendom Defender is saying psyops upon psyops. That may be the case. It may be psyops upon psyops. I don't know. I'm not giving a conclusion either way, right? What I'm saying is, which is certain, the normalization of talking about UFOs and UAPs, that is an absolute paradigm shift. That's like, just in the space of maybe like, what, a month, maybe 2 months or something, maybe 3 months. It's gone, like, talking about alternate, you know, talking about little green men or whatever has, it's gone from fringe. You have a tinfoil, you're wearing it, you need to wear a tinfoil hat, to mainstream media, Donald Trump, sitting president of the United States, mainstream media giving this real airtime. Listen, guys, there's some deep stuff on here. There's some deep stuff on here this morning. Paul J. Conley is saying, when the mind is closed, the eyes are blind. Danny is saying, with AI taking over and making media more and more unbelievable, we need communities to follow like yourself, Sean. Thank you so much, Danny. Maybe in order to dissect what is and isn't real. Absolutely, yeah. Like, we genuinely are at that place right now where I don't know what's real anymore. I struggle to, when I'm looking at stuff, very difficult to figure out what's real. You've always got to look at the agenda, right? You've got to look, what's the global agenda right now? So the global agenda right now is war. That's the global agenda. There's no way around it. America, they're having their war in the Middle East. And there's the war in Ukraine that's going to drive. The British boots will be on the ground very soon, and I think it'll happen. It will happen quickly. It will happen over a weekend. It will be an emergency deployment. It will be an emergency deployment to save lives as a defensive measure or something like that. You know, that will be the line. That will be the official line. However, once those boots are on the ground, it just keeps escalating and getting mission creep, right? So if you guys, this is where I think it's going to go actually. So you guys remember when the first airstrikes went into Iran on the 28th? Like we've been saying, they were going to go in on the 28th. The initial airstrikes were, we're just taking out, we're just going to destroy the Iranian nuclear facility, their ballistic missiles, and their navy, right? That's all we're going to do. We're just going to destroy those. And everybody's like, oh, yeah, okay. And then it goes to, yeah, we're just going to take out some command centers, and then we're going to take out some factories. And then we're going to take out some launch pads. And it's little steps by little steps. So this is using that as your guide. This is how British boots on the ground will get deployed to Ukraine, as far as my analysis goes. There will be a big Russian push or something to trigger a response, right? Then it will happen on a weekend, and there will be British boots on the ground will go in, and then the media will be, the Prime Minister Keir Starmer will be saying, this is a defensive action to save lives and evacuate civilians. After a couple of days, then it'll be, this is the defensive operation to evacuate civilians, to save lives, and to strengthen the Ukrainian military. And then it will just keep building. And the next thing you know, we'll just be in a hot war, but nobody will be saying it's a hot war. And nobody will really understand how we got there. We'll be looking back and saying, oh, they did this, these guys did that, those guys did this. And it's not going to matter. It will absolutely not matter at all. Sean! Hang on, right, Four Paws are saying, Sean, I don't know what hang on. See what happened to Amelia. Yeah, what did happen to Amelia? Or are we talking, right, in what context, Four Paws? Four Paws, in what context are we talking about Amelia? So my thoughts on Amelia, this AI-generated sprite, my thoughts on Amelia is, I think that she is, there's a few versions of Amelia, right? There's the, there's a few versions of Amelia, right? There's the really good version of Amelia, and that I shared with you guys and got the video demonetized, right? And I got banned on TikTok for it. So there's by really good, I mean she's really well made. And if you look at some of the things that Amelia says, she is, the levels of sophistication in her propaganda, in what she's saying, it really is phenomenal. It really is phenomenal. There's some of the stuff that she says to rile people up and to roust people up. It really is fantastic. So I would say that Amelia is near peer cyber warfare. I would say that Amelia originates from a foreign country's cyber warfare department. Right, I'm just jumping to the bottom, guys. Oh, hang on a minute. And Four Paws is saying she's not about anymore. Yeah, so look, guys, let's put those two things together, right? Let's put those two things together. So Four Paws was talking about Amelia. You guys remember Amelia, what she got? Is it blue? She got blue, purple hair, something? I don't know. Yeah, she's not done any more videos, right? Do you know why she's not done any more videos? Well, let's put those two things together. I said a long time ago that Amelia was near-peer adversaries propaganda, right? Cyber warfare being pumped into the United Kingdom, right? Guess what? You know those cyber warfare departments? Those cyber warfare departments that are all sat at desks generating memes and stuff? Guess what? They don't have the time anymore to pump propaganda into the United Kingdom because they're pumping propaganda into Iran or different methods now. You see how that works? When you've got the big room, and honestly, this happens. I can't even go into this. I can't go into this I can't go into this in the depth that I want to go into this. So imagine it now, right? Imagine the scenario. You've got the you've got the room, right? In wherever. You've got the room and you're like, right, okay, maybe it's in Iran. Let's say this room's in Iran. It could well be in Iran, right? Because the Iranians would be pumping propaganda into the United Kingdom, right? So you've got all these people, right, in this room. 50, you got 100 people in a room, right? Split them down the middle. Right, you guys, I want you to push left-wing propaganda into the United Kingdom. Right, got it. You guys, I want you to push right-wing propaganda into the United Kingdom and cause drama and chaos, right? That's the case, okay? 28th of February, airstrikes, the United States start attacking Iran. One of two things has happened, right? Either they were sat there and something went, boom, right? And they can't generate any more memes, right? Yeah, you guys know what I'm talking about, right? Or the other thing, all those people now are having to produce and provide anti-Western memes. In fact, Four Paws has just hit a fantastic point. Can you guys remember, have you seen all this AI generated stuff that's coming out of Iran, pro-Iranian propaganda? Is it not in the same dynamics, font and style as Amelia? I'm just saying, guys, look at it. Look at the stuff that's on X that's being produced by Iran. I think that you could be looking at the same work there. So I could say from Four Paws' prompts, we could have an identification line into into where Amelia came from. So from what we're seeing right now, the absence of Amelia and the implication, the amount of AI generated propaganda that's coming out of Iran right now, I would say Amelia's an Iranian product. Debbie Doobs is saying, Sean, what will selling Russian all mean for Ukraine? What will selling Russian? Oh, oil. What will Russian oil sell? It will mean the Russians have more money. It will mean the Russians can buy more stuff off off whoever they're buying stuff off. And let's face it, everybody buys stuff off China. It will mean the Russians have more money to wage war, basically. That's what it will mean. Right, listen, guys, I am just jumping down to the bottom. So listen, I do apologize again if I missed anybody's comments. I'm jumping down to the bottom. Eric is saying, when you understand that all the characters in Revelation are nations and people, and you follow the timeline given, you find that the story is accurate. Jesus told us everything before it happens. So who would Jesus be? Eric, who would Jesus be in this? What country would Jesus be in this story? But Amelia was originally, yeah, so Dan Johnson is saying, but Amelia was originally created by the UK government. It was then used for anti-government stuff. Yeah. So listen, I'm going to say, oh, hang on. I'm going to say that Amelia was created in Iran. Now, that's because what Four Paws said. That's because what Four Paws was saying. She prompted me to think about something that I just not noticed. So yes, Amelia's vanished. She's not doing any more memes because I'm saying the meme factory that she came from may have had £1,000 dropped on them, or they may be busy doing other things. So that's what I'm saying. That's my speculation. Amelia is from Iran. There are beasts in the Bible. Those beasts are nations. Right, listen, ladies and gentlemen, let me, I am going to start to close this down now. Let's just jump back right to the beginning, guys, okay? Let's just jump right back to the beginning because this drone attack on the British Special Forces base, it is being claimed by pretty much all mainstream media right now. All the tabloids are throwing it out there that Putin had a hidden hand in this. Putin says that hidden hands. Iran targets British troops. Brits blaze under fire. Then you've got a picture of Putin pointing, look, British troops hit by drones as fears grow of Putin's involvement. We are being, Iranian drones directed by hidden hand of Putin. Yes, fire drone at British military base, but make sure you don't hurt anyone. Russia behind attack on UK troops. So in unison, right now, the whole British media tabloids are pumping this out to get people used to and get people, oh my God, look at, I'm doing that, to get people used to boots on the ground in Iran. In Iran. Well, you should get used to boots on the ground in Iran because that's coming soon as well. But to get people used to British boots on the ground in Ukraine. Because it's going to be, we've got to stop Putin because he's sending drones over. And that may be true, it really may, that may be true. So I am going to close this down now, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to be back on, I think, very soon. In fact, I will be back on very soon. And I'm going to do a Prepping 101 video, run, hide, fight, because what we've just seen from this incident in... in America is sometimes you may have to use that ultimate, the last part of that algorithm. Those students in that synagogue or school, I don't know what it was exactly, but they stopped anyone else. Getting... I believe they stopped anyone else getting unalived, basically, because they subdued that gunman. Now, here in the United Kingdom, I don't think we have the appetite for that. And I just really worry that people will literally be like rabbits in the headlights. So I am going to come on and do that again, guys. I know I've done that for quite a few times. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, you guys have been fantastic. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your comments and your and 4 Paws as well. I don't know if 4 Paws are still on. A personal shout out to 4 Paws, because 4 Paws, I don't know if she's still on, just pointed something out to me. And I didn't realize it. And as soon as she said it, I was like, yeah, I'm pretty convinced now that Amelia is Iranian state-produced propaganda. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be back on definitely before 12. I bid you good morning. I'll see you later.